So welcome everyone to the Self-Made interview series. Today we are interviewing the amazing Melanie Swan, Director of the Institute of Blockchain Studies. And we're going to be speaking to Melanie about the importance of Bitcoin and what Bitcoin is, and really trying to understand everything that is cryptocurrency.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Excellent. So before we get into all the questions, tell us a bit about yourself first of all.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I've always been an entrepreneur. I'm on my 6th business now, and I'm even trying to do a startup within academia now.
Yeah.
Think with an innovative mindset. I'm at Purdue University, which is a world-class engineering school, and the future technologies are blockchain,
Yeah.
which is the protocol underlying Bitcoin. And so I am absolutely focused on trying to establish a blockchain research center within academia
Yeah.
as a new form of innovation and entrepreneurship.
Excellent. Fantastic. Well, the first question is, what is Bitcoin?
So Bitcoin is a digital money. It's a digital monetary system, and it uses cryptography to validate transfers between people that have this digital money,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't require a central bank or another intermediary in the middle. So it means that you can exchange money, a buy-sell transaction with anybody in the world instantaneously, close to instantaneously,
Mm-hmm.
without having to know and trust them or know and trust a bank along the way. So it means that money transfer can be cross-border, can be instantaneous, is very low cost,
Mm-hmm.
and it no longer requires centralized intermediaries that tend to take a lot of the transaction fee along the way, like a wire transfer service like Western Union.
Sure.
So this is really an amazing new kind of digital money that's for the modern era.
Is that not dissimilar to PayPal in its early days, whereby they weren't charging huge transaction costs and it was a case of being able to transact much easier? Is it similar to that?
Yes, it's very similar. So Bitcoin is essentially a better version of PayPal, or a next generation version of PayPal. PayPal already was a disruptive new form of money that was digitally based. However, the main distinction is that PayPal is still centralized and still relies on your bank account being hooked to your PayPal account. And so Bitcoin is the next evolution that moves away from a centralized database, which is easy as a target for hackers,
Mm-hmm.
and allows this truly distributed monetary system where anybody in the world can exchange without having to have an account at a bank.
Excellent. So in your opinion, what would you say kind of the leading cryptocurrency out there at the moment?
There are thousands of cryptocurrencies. The biggest are definitely Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, Bitcoin's trading at about $10,000 per Bitcoin, and Ethereum dollars per Ether. So there are many different kinds of projects. So it's not about part of the whole crypto economics moment that we're going through in the economy. It can be about buying and investing in cryptocurrencies, but it can, and also raising money for your business through an ICO, an initial coin offering, a token sale. But investing in this sector is just one piece of it. So the more fundamental shift is actually using the underlying blockchain technology in all kinds of businesses, from real estate to supply chain, automotive manufacturing, car businesses, etc. So the bigger revolution is underneath. The bigger revolution for entrepreneurs is figuring out, how can I use blockchain technology in my business to offer new solutions to customers and reinvent what I'm doing? And then there's certainly a lot of activity in and focus on these the new cryptocurrency millionaires that have been investing in these cryptocurrencies. So there's definitely a lot of focus on how to value cryptocurrencies if you're an individual or institutional investor, and should I be buying? Am I missing out? Is this a new thing? But most of these, it's very early in the sector, so we'd expect a lot of volatility and ups and downs. So it's just as easy to lose money. And especially on a lot of these new ICOs, probably most of them will not actually deliver a worthwhile product to customers. So people are concerned about missing out on the craze, but really it's just like anything, to investigate and make an informed, critical decision for yourself and not feel like you have to pile into whatever seems to be going on.
Excellent. So tell us, you mentioned about blockchain technology. Just make it really simple for anyone out there trying to understand what that is and what that means.
Yeah, sure. So the reason that Bitcoin, a money system, can work on the internet is sort of just like sending email. So you're using Gmail, I'm using Outlook, and it's completely seamless. I just get your email address, I send you an email, no problem. And there's an internet protocol, some internet magic, a software in the background that makes that happen. So that technology layer, in the case of email, it's called SMTP. It's a simple mail transfer protocol.
Yep.
And in the case of money, though, it's a little bit different, because when I send you an email with an attachment, you can make as many copies of that attachment as you want. But we don't want that to happen with money. We want money to only be spent once.
Yes.
So we needed a digital system, a software, an internet software system to track that money is only spent once. And so that's what blockchain is. It's the protocol that underlies cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum that allows on the internet, as cryptographic systems, it's a ledger that confirms who has which account balance and allows that to only be spent once. And similarly allows your identity document to be confirmed that that's the unique passport or visa, the driver's license that belongs to you. So there are many, blockchain is a next level computing technology that allows us to confirm unique identity of assets on the internet, whether it's money or identity or different things. So it's a blockchain is the bigger story, which at the internet protocol level allows us to do payments and have private confidential transactions and a little bit more functionality than the initial internet had. So that's the bigger story, is the blockchain revolution, as opposed to, we see the front end is projects, cryptocurrency projects like Bitcoin and other fun consumer investment vehicles like CryptoKitties, which is a breakout business in this space. So it's really three layers. So the consumer application layer is cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum. Then at the technology protocol layer, it's blockchain. And then at the bottom layer is the internet. This is all running on the internet. The internet is what makes reaching anybody worldwide possible.
Yep.
So I guess I have two questions on that. So the first one is, who controls that blockchain technology and makes it, secure? Because I guess most banking related technologies have legislation and have government involvement. And I guess a second question, which is, we've heard of people losing their laptop and therefore losing their kind of investment portfolio, so to speak. So how do we legislate against something like that happening? So the first one is, who controls it?
Yeah, and then, so Bitcoin, this is a key conceptual point with Bitcoin and blockchain. There is no central control. It's exactly like the internet. It's comprised of a number of different servers that host the service. So changes to what keeps the protocol secure is the software. So there are software developers, and there is all open source on GitHub. You can check out the code anytime and make suggestions for changes to the code. And so any change to the protocol has to be made in conjunction with approval from the entire software community. And there are big votes. Since it's open source, then all of the different constituencies worldwide get involved in voting on changes to the software. And it can take a long time, and if there's not enough consensus, then the change won't go forward. And so that happened with a big change called the hard fork that occurred over the summer, voting. Eventually there wasn't enough consensus, so the change wasn't made. But the key point is that it's just like the internet. There is no central authority or control of it, and that the network is comprised of users hosting the nodes. So you can check online, and the Bitcoin network is hosted by about 11,000 people worldwide, have wanted to contribute to hosting the community infrastructure. So they download and host a node on their computer, and that is the distributed network. So there's no central coordination of that. It's just all in the software. And so that's what gives rise to this new idea called algorithmic trust, or sometimes Bitcoin's called a trustless system. It's because you don't need to trust human parties or institutions. You just trust the software protocol. Then your other question is people are using Bitcoin on their laptop. It sounded like the question about a lot of people might be using Bitcoin for illegal purposes because
No. The question was if it's contained on your individual laptop and there is no kind of system that holds that data. What happens if you lose your laptop? You know, what happens in the situation
where... How do you protect yourself?
How do you protect yourself? I heard a man had £1 million worth of Bitcoin on his laptop and it went into the bin. You know, what do you do in that situation?
Yes, so this calls on us to be knowledgeable. So this could be why it's not really consumer ready on a widespread basis yet. And but it also calls on us to develop a digital literacy to be operating as modern citizens now. So the idea that you have to back up your money. So if you only have your money on your smartphone in an e-wallet, you might need to back up the keys to that, your private key. So in case you drop your phone or put it in the bin or it falls in some water, that you have a way to recover that Bitcoin. So we're not used to this. We don't do well backing up our data, and so we don't even know what it is to back up our money.
Yeah.
And so there are a number of different consumer wallets. So for example, one of the biggest companies for this is Coinbase. And they do check your identity, and they do keep that recovery information. So you can always access your wallet from any website, even if you lost your smartphone application. But other wallets, because people really want the security of my money only being in one place on my smartphone, some people prefer to take the responsibility for what if they did drop it in the bin and lose it. And now, one of the funny things, as you mentioned, people searching garbage dumps for old computers that have Bitcoin on them from 5 years ago when it wasn't worth as much as it is now. I have myself several old phones with old Bitcoin on it that I use to transfer to people at workshops. And so I keep meaning to recover that Bitcoin because it's actually worth a bit more now.
Yeah.
So this is part of the new world. And how would we actually make a consumer ready product that for our grandparents, for example, to make it easy and secure for them to use Bitcoin in a way that makes sense? And so some of these wallets like Coinbase do that. Other wallets, you just need to know what kind of wallet you have, whether it's there's a web-based access to it as well, or just really only on whatever device you install it on.
Excellent. So we've heard this term mining, being bandied about. Can you give us a bit more information about what that is and what that means?
Yeah, so mining is the accounting, the transaction, validation, and reporting part of how Bitcoin or cryptocurrency systems work. And so basically what happens is and mining is very lucrative,
Mm-hmm.
and so a lot of people entrepreneurs are interested in doing mining, and so they might run a mining machine at home or in their data center, get some cards and start mining different kinds of cryptocurrencies.
Yep.
So for Bitcoin, it's so big and so established that really you need a custom ASIC chip to be able to mine Bitcoin. And so Bitcoin mining is an enterprise effort, not an individual entrepreneur effort. And it's actually very concentrated in data centers in certain parts of the world. But still right now, when I'm around at the different cryptocurrency meetups, people are still making lots of money mining other kinds of cryptocurrencies. So how this actually works is, I mentioned in the case of Bitcoin, there are 11,000 computing nodes hosting the transaction ledger worldwide. And so what happens is, so say I have my smart wallet and I'm sending you some Bitcoin, so I will scan your QR code, your address from your smart wallet, and enter the transaction amount and send it. And so what happens is that all of those transactions get sent to what's called the memory pool, the mem pool, which is out on the network on every single miner's machine. If you want to be a miner, you just download the software from GitHub. And your software then has a memory pool where it receives all of the new incoming transactions, and the software will confirm that yes, Bianca and Byron had that balance, and they're transferring it to the other party. So it confirms and validates the transaction, and then packages all of these current transactions from the last 10 minutes into a block. And then tries to signs it cryptographically and competes to try to be the mining machine that registers that new block. And the way that that competition happens is that every mining machine needs to do a proof of work, which is an extensive computation to try to be the first to confirm this new block of transactions. And so mining has received a lot of criticism because it uses a lot of electricity that's really just a make-work project. It doesn't go towards green efforts, but it does provide the crypto security. And there are other plans and projects for how could we, for example, hook carbon dioxide sequestration equipment to a blockchain network, so actually turn mining into a green operation that produces more social benefit. But the current method, the reason we don't need intermediaries to confirm the transactions is because the miners do, and they provide this expensive cryptographic security by trying to guess puzzles on the network to be able to win the right to confirm this block. And then they get the block rewards. One machine at random will guess the right cryptographic answer to the network puzzle and be able to record that block, and then they receive the rewards, which are very, very lucrative at the moment, at 25 Bitcoins per confirmed block.
Excellent. So if I'm a merchant, how do I accept Bitcoin? Or do I need to accept Bitcoin?
Yeah, that's a good. What I like about what you raised is just because Bitcoin is a big thing doesn't mean that if you're a merchant, you have to accept it, or if you're an entrepreneur, you have to get into this market. But if you are a merchant, in fact, it's quite easy, and there's it's the same amount of risk as accepting any kind of form of payment. And so what merchants do at either online or at a point of sale kiosk will have a Bitcoin or cryptocurrency or Bitcoin service provider. And so this will just be another form of payment you accept along with Visa, MasterCard, etc. And there are separate Bitcoin processing merchants, such as BitPay in the US is a big one. I think CoinSnap may be used a lot in Europe. But merchants, I often see when I'm buying something now, I can pay with all kinds of different methods, and including cryptocurrency methods. And then what happens for the merchant is low risk for the merchant in the background, because they don't have the currency risk of, Bitcoin's $10,000 today, $11,000 tomorrow. So that could be a worry if you're a merchant. But your payment processor will accept the payment and convert it immediately, so you don't have to bear the currency risk. And really, it's transparent. If you're a merchant, it's strategic. It's you don't need to do a lot more to be able to accept Bitcoin, and it's the strategic positioning that you're a modern kind of business.
But then I guess if you then, say you were paid in Bitcoin, I know you said you don't stand the risk of that conversion. However, would you then want to retain that Bitcoin in case, I know it's fallen recently to about $10,000, but would you want to retain it in case it goes up, or do you translate it, or what's the word? It's not translate.
I know what you mean.
Do you convert it straight into your currency to maintain that value?
Yeah, so that would be your personal business decision. Most businesses would keep their transactional processing separate from their investment decision, and so convert immediately to whatever your local currency is. But if you're wanting maybe you have also a lot of purchases that you're wanting to make with Bitcoin. So maybe you want to hang on to it. I know early adopters really wanted to opt out of the traditional pound fiat system, and so they want to always be paid in Bitcoin, and they want to denominate their expenses in Bitcoin. So it's really a separate. You keep the investment decision separate, and most businesses, because it's so volatile right now, if you're running a real business, you may have better investment, more secure or lower risk investment choices for your working capital, and then maybe unless you're a crypto hedge fund, in which case you might want that exposure.
So if you're new to the world of cryptocurrency, but you are interested in joining all the people that are talking about it, how would you suggest one goes about becoming an investor in
buying Bitcoin,
but not just Bitcoin, any cryptocurrency?
Sure.
Because I think the news is Bitcoin is the most prevalent of the cryptocurrencies, but I'm sure there are others that are creeping up, like you said. So how do you get involved?
Yeah, so I would recommend two things. First of all, meetup.com. There are lots of meetups in every city. Like I'm going to a new city in the next couple of weeks. Immediately I check Meetup for all their crypto meetups, and they have already several.
Excellent. Love it.
So going to meetups is absolutely a great opportunity in many cities. So that's one thing. And there are Bitcoin, Ethereum, Hyperledger, Hashcash, all kinds of crypto meetups. So that's a good learning opportunity. And then number two would be getting a wallet. And so just getting an e-wallet and starting to buying a nominal amount of Bitcoin. So even though one Bitcoin is trading at $10,000, there are much smaller denominations. So the smallest denomination is called a Satoshi. And so it's with a few dollars you can get involved. And so the main wallets, a lot of people go with Coinbase because it's a very large and trusted provider. And then so there's Coinbase, and then the Bread wallet or Mycelium. So those are Bitcoin and cryptocurrency wallets. But then the other thing that's happening now is smart contract wallets. So all of the Ethereum token projects you need a smart contract wallet. And so in that case, a lot of people use the Jax wallet, which is JAXX, and or My Ether wallet, or I just downloaded one called IDOO, EIDOO. So they're not only the cryptocurrencies like you mentioned, but also now smart contracts. So if you actually wanted to do some of these other kinds of crypto projects and experiment with what they are, for example, they allow voting if you're a participant in certain communities. So the idea would be get a wallet, start playing around with it in a couple of sample transactions to see how it works.
Will there be another cryptocurrency as successful as Bitcoin?
Yeah, so it's an interesting point. Bitcoin right now has the entrenched network effect. It is the biggest and first mover. But over time, so already we're starting to see, we'll probably have many different blockchains in different industries. And so right now, the consumer blockchains and the enterprise blockchains are really starting to shake out in distinct ways. And so, for example, IBM Hyperledger is very strongly moving into leadership as an enterprise blockchain. And so what this allows is for in your supply chain, you to connect to do business networks, to have shared processes in a network in your supply chain. And so, for example, say you have a luxury car rental business, you might want to have a unique tracker. You might want to register all of your assets to a blockchain. And then anybody that needs to find out about those assets, whether it's a regulator or an insurance company or the merchants or the dealers or customers, now we have a single shared process by which we do any kind of transaction involving those assets. And so the enterprise blockchain is the next generation of enterprise software, and every industry is starting to move aggressively into that area. And so your question in terms of, will Bitcoin always be the biggest cryptocurrency? it's really unclear. They're the clear leader now, and you have to look at what Bitcoin's doing now. But Ethereum may move past Bitcoin because Ethereum is a smart contract platform, meaning allowing to build in the business intelligence for future transactions, not just immediate cash transactions, but transactions over time, like a mortgage or other kinds of financial arrangements that the more complex ones do take place over time. So in the longer term, any of the current currencies might go away. This is very early in the innovation phase, and so, for example, there were other airplanes and cars before the Ford and so it's not clear. I mean, these might be early examples. So it's a highly competitive market, and so anybody that is here has to keep innovating very rapidly to stay alive.
Excellent. So you mentioned just now about legislation and regulation.
Yeah.
Do you think that's going to happen? And what impact would it have?
Yeah, so this is regulation always lags the actual market activity, and so different countries have been responding in different ways.
Yes.
And so a lot of entrepreneurs have been heading to the market to raise money for their crypto project in an ICO, an initial coin offering. And so in the UK, the FCA was early to say last September, look, you may lose all of your money. We're not saying that ICOs are illegal, but we counsel you, look, basically don't do it. It's very high risk. Yeah. And in the US, there was ICOs need to be, if they are like a security, they need to be registered like a security. So there is regulatory compliance. Other countries, China completely banned them.
Yes.
So China is an interesting case of, so you mentioned, well, what's the impact when different things get banned? And so different countries have different attitudes. So you would really have to have all countries banning these cryptocurrencies to really see that much of a difference. The Bitcoin price barely dips even when China has very big regulatory efforts going on. So it's an unstoppable phenomenon in the sense that it's digital money systems on the internet. And so you would really have to go and take out all of those 12,000 machines worldwide, and it's distributed, it's impossible, it's practically unfeasible. So government regulatory efforts. So certainly any business that wants to stay being a business in their local jurisdictional domain will be compliant. They'll register their activities. And this is a big growth industry, too, for in the U.S., the state of Delaware allowing corporate registrations now with blockchain kinds of features. So it's so government regulation lags, but it's not completely against the industry, and it's really finding some helpful thinking to help these technologies proceed and work through things. So the ICO craze was the initial big bubble, but it'll get more sane as real businesses do comply with local regulatory requirements.
What do you think the future of cryptocurrency is? Do you think that we're ever going to get to a stage where we have a cryptocurrency as the kind of one world currency that we use?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we'll have lots of different cryptocurrencies, and in fact, many governments are talking about doing their own, moving their own monetary systems onto crypto networks. So I think we don't necessarily have to head to one because all of them are always readily convertible. Okay. And so you may have many different kinds of tokens. So for example, you have your community token in your own neighborhood where we can, anytime there's a use for a token, we have transactions we want to track in the background of I'm providing babysitting hours, you're providing hydroponic greens, you're providing your own solar power. So anytime we have some sort of community marketplace we want to coordinate and track, it might make sense to have a local token. Or, for example, in your self-made a business franchise, you might have your own self-made token as a reward system, so people can get loyalty points, purchase merchandise, participate, have an advertising code for your affiliates on their website. So you have a whole business community for which there are economic transactions happening between different kinds of parties in that community. And so it could make sense to have a token there that, of course, is always readily convertible out to pounds or Bitcoin or whatever people want to convert it to. So I think we'll probably see a lot of wherever there's a local economy, it might make sense to have a crypto token, and it's easy to do, increasingly easier to do, and convertible out. And so I think we might have many levels of token. So we might have country level, state level, many different levels. So it's just like I go to the UK now and I use pounds. In the US I use dollars. So I think we'll probably have multiple. It allows us to rethink the principles of economics and where they belong to empower our human activity.
And what are, I guess, the risks our viewers should think about before investing into any cryptocurrency or Bitcoin?
Yeah, I think the volatility. So people have been, you find them, you've probably seen them all over London and in your business network, these new Bitcoin millionaires. And they'll be, I
don't know enough of them, unfortunately.
And so I love this. This is like the black swan phenomenon, which is it's random who is successful, but then they attribute their success to their skill or something.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Very true. Yeah.
It's just as random who bought it, who didn't. But and so now they're all starting, of course, crypto hedge funds because they know the market. But I think the risk for any investor is just noticing it's extremely volatile, and market might not be that liquid if you're not in Bitcoin and Ethereum. It might be hard to get out if you're wanting to get out. So I think it's very risky. It's absolutely the time to put a little coffee money into crypto and test it out and understand how it works. And investing, I personally think there are other ways to make money in a better risk-reward return perspective. That's my own personal opinion. So I think we'd expect more volatility. So already we could think there'll be a first crypto crash.
Yeah.
Because there's been such a crypto explosion. So could be high vol. If you like volatility, then get in.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Excellent.
Don't invest more than you can afford to lose, I think is always the thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
What websites would you suggest people take a look at or visit, or anything that's useful for them?
One thing I really like one person I really like is Andreas Antonopoulos, who has a tremendous amount of intro to Bitcoin videos and an O'Reilly book called Mastering Bitcoin. So I think he is very inspirational to listen to. So I think any kind of education website is good. I like the Let's Talk Bitcoin podcast. The A16 podcast is a VC crypto podcast that's pretty good. I think just looking for a lot of any kind of education resources is something good to get involved with. Also, a lot of projects have Slack channels, so you can easily get involved with community discussion. This is like, new version of previously all the forum chat would be in Reddit, but in a subreddit, but now it's on a Slack channel. I have a global Slack channel myself where we do project collaborations in the crypto space. So I think getting involved with a currency project you're interested in is a good way to learn as well.
Excellent. And where can they find that Slack channel that you have?
From my institute from blockchainstudies.org. Okay. There's a menu button for it. So that's really great because a lot of people, I have a Udemy course. And so a lot of people in India and China and Latin America have taken my course, and so they want to then collaborate more later. And so this is a means where anybody worldwide can come on and talk about the different token projects they're considering.
Great. So they go along to that website and they just type in your name, or?
At blockchainstudies.org, there's a menu button for Slack.
Okay.
And how do people reach you if they want to, or are you reachable on the social platforms?
Yes. So at blockchainstudies.org or at melanieswan.com, I have all my social media, email, phone, social media links.
Excellent. I think that's everything from me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Melanie.
Thank you for
It's
your
been a
time.
pleasure.
It's been an absolute
It's really wonderful talking to you. I really appreciate your energy and passion for entrepreneurship and the businesses you built. It's really inspirational.
Thank you
very much.
for your kind words.
All right. Take care. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Thank you.